Hello, and welcome back to the Toontown Corporate Clash Guide series. I'm your host, your pal Mega Snoop, and today we're going to be talking about training points, gags, and prestiges. This video is going to be broken down into 3 different sections. Section 1 is going to be training points, Section 2 is gags, and Section 3 is all about the gag features and prestige. On your screen, feel free to click on a section to skip to that part of the video, or if you're mobile, there's going to be some timestamps in the description. So here we go, Section 1, Training Points. What are training points? Well, that's an excellent question. Training points are the new way to unlock and prestige gags in Corporate Clash. You can have as many gag tracks as you can afford by using the training points that you've earned, or stick with your starting 2 gag tracks. So the big question here is, how do you earn training points? Well, training points are going to be unlocked every 4 levels up until level 20. Then once you reach level 20, your next training point is going to be unlocked at level 28. And then it's every 10 levels after that. 38, 48, 58, etc. Training points are going to be a toon's most precious resource and should be spent wisely. Once you spend a training point, depending on what you're spending it on, it might not be refundable. Hopping into Section 2, we're going to talk about the gags. So to unlock a new gag track, you're going to need to put training points into the first 2 boxes of that track. Once you put the second training point into the track, you'll get an achievement and the track will be unlocked for you to use. Helpful toon tip: if you accidentally put a point into the wrong track, just click the box again to get it back. As long as you don't unlock the track, you get that training point back. But once you unlock that track, there's no going back, you're stuck with that track. This turned into a rhyming thing? Ricky, what did you write? Though something new in the Corporate Clash is the layout of the gag tracks. In the spirit of balance, they have now been reordered to the following layout. It goes tune-up, trap, lure, sound, squirt, zap, throw, and then drop. Another addition to Corporate Clash is the level 8 gags. This change balances out the selection of gags and gives toons some extra firepower. However, unlike the old level 7 gags, all gags can now be bought for their respective costs. A level 1 gag costs 1 jelly bean, while a level 8 gag costs 8. So how do you go about earning level 8 gags? Well, that, my child, is easy. Every time you use a gag successfully in battle, you'll get a set base amount of experience. The gag experience is then raised based on where you use the gag. If you use a gag while there's a cog invasion, you'll earn the double gag experience. Different cog facilities and cog buildings also give you upwards of 7 times gag experience. However, it should be noted, cog invasions do not affect building or facility experience. And each gag track has an experience cap of 20,000. Once you hit 20,000, you've maxed the gag track, and the gag inside of that track will be to the maximum amount of power that it can reach. However, if that power isn't enough, then you can prestige it, which is probably what we should move on to now. Section 3, Gag Features and Prestiges. Gag prestiging is a way to unlock special perks for each gag track. Each prestige costs 1 training point and is refundable. No longer do you have to wait a month for a tree to grow, you'll have immediate access to the perks of these prestiges. So to prestige a gag, you're going to want to head over to your training points page. At the time of this recording, you're only able to prestige a gag track once. However, like the layout of this page, it's subject to change in the future. Once you have a training point to spend, go ahead and click on the 3rd box of the track you'd like to prestige. And as long as you've got the track unlocked, a warning will appear. Accept it and your track will be prestiged. And to unprestige a track, simply click on the 3rd box again. A warning will pop up, and once you accept it, you'll have your training point returned and the track will no longer be prestiged. But do note that refunding a training point can cost upwards of 20,000 jelly beans, so be careful when picking a gag to prestige. So what does each prestige do? I'm glad you asked, because I get to read off all of them now. When you prestige tune-up, the tune-up prestige gives you a 30% self-heal of the total heal you do using your tune-up gag. So if you use the pixie dust, you'll get a 15 laugh self-heal from the 50 total possible healing points the gag can do. This example is assuming you've maxed pixie dust and it does its full potential. But if the gag misses, you still receive that 30% self-heal, it'll just be off of the missed total instead of the grand total that the gag could have done. Now we're moving on to Trap! The Trap Prestige gives trap gags a bonus damage of 3 times the cog level the gag is used on. So say we have a 240 damage TNT gag and used it on a level 14 cog. We'd multiply the cog level by 3 and add that to the trap gag's damage. For this example, our TNT would be doing 282 damage to the cog. Trap as a whole has also been rebalanced to prove more useful in battle. Trap follows the same carry limit rules as every other gag track, so you'll be able to carry 3 of the level 6 trap gag now, as opposed to the regular 2. Trap's damage has also been buffed across every gag. These changes have proven to make Trap much more useful throughout the game. Next, we're going to look at Lure. Prestiging Lure allows players to have a higher knockback damage. When a cog is lured, they will now take 65% knockback damage instead of the normal 50%. So for this example, if we have a cog lured with Prestige Lure and a maxed whole cream pie which does 70 damage, it would knock back the cog and deal 116 damage, whereas with a standard lure it would only be doing 105 damage. As long as the player with Prestige Lure lures the cog, any toon in battle can take advantage of the extra knockback damage. Now we're moving on to sound! One of the highest used prestiges is the sound prestige. On top of your base sound damage, you will also be doing extra damage in the form of half of the highest level cog's level. So for example, a 50 damage foghorn on a level 12 cog would add 6 extra damage for a total of 56 damage. Using this with the group bonus can create some pretty interesting gag combinations. However, while this prestige may sound powerful, be careful when it is used against really high level cogs. Do you really add, if it sounds powerful? Are you kidding me with the puns? Sounds powerful. I should fire you. Up next is Squirt. The Squirt prestige is quite possibly the most significant prestige next to Zap. So hang in there, we're almost there, we'll get to it. The Squirt prestige will firstly give a cog a minus 20% defense debuff. The prestige will also soak cogs next to the cog you target with Squirt, effectively soaking up to 3 cogs at once. Finally, all Squirt gags are going to get 1 extra round of the soaked effect, so let's break it down. The minus 20% defense debuff will make the cogs dodge less, perfect for when you have a cog which seems to dodge every single attack. And before we get into the rest of the Squirt prestige, we should explain Soak. Soaking a cog is what allows Zap to have 3 times its normal damage and a buffed 95% gag accuracy. It will also allow Zap to jump between the cogs in battle if they have been soaked. This will be further elaborated when we get to Zap. Prestige Squirt further on from this regular Squirt by giving the targeted cog an extra round of being soaked. If a cog is targeted and there is a cog next to them, they will also receive a regular soak. Say that there are 3 cogs in a battle, and if you attack the middle cog with a Squirt, then the soak will spread to all 3 cogs and they will all be soaked. If you were to soak the middle left cog when there are 4 cogs in battle, the soak would be applied to cogs number 1 and 3. Next, let's move on to Zap. Zap's prestige is one of the most strategy-based prestiges and track in general in the game. It is very difficult to master, but if you can master it and use it to its full potential, you can unleash some very dangerous attacks against the cogs. Zap is best paired with Prestige Squirt, as you can take better advantage of Zap's jump ability in order to execute more high damage combos. But what is Zap's jump effect and how does it work? Jump is a new feature to Zap which allows Zap to damage cogs next to the targeted cogs as long as they're soaked. If a jump is successful, it'll deal reduced damage as it travels through the cogs nearby. The initially targeted cog is the only cog that will get full damage dealt to it. Sounds simple, right? Let's continue. The main rule to remember is that Zap's jump will always prioritize going right over left. So for example, if you have 4 cogs in a battle and all of them are soaked, if you target the middle left cog, the jump will work to the right. Each time you use Zap, it will jump a maximum of 2 times if possible. Keep in mind that Zap can only jump a cog once. So if you use multiple Zaps, know that a cog can only take jump damage from one of them. Okay, now that we have the basic rules down, let's talk about the damage. Going back to our example, we have 4 cogs that are all soaked. If we were to target the middle left cog with a regular Zap gag, it would do 3 times the damage to the middle left cog, 2 times damage to the middle right cog, and base damage to the cog in the right. Instead, if we targeted the right middle cog, we'd do 3 times damage to the middle right cog, and then 2 times damage to the right hand side cog, and the jump will end there. As explained earlier, regular Zap can travel both left and right, but will prioritize right. However, a Zap cannot switch directions mid-jump, which is why the most recent example's jump was cut off early. Lastly, if we were to target the right hand side cog, it would instead move left since it can't go right. This would do 3 times damage to the right hand side cog, 2 times to the middle right, and base damage to the middle left. Prestige Zap circumvents this, allowing it to travel more than one direction during a jump. While still prioritizing right, Prestige Zap also decreases damage loss over jumps so that the base cog will get 3 times damage, the second will get 2.5, and the third will get times 2. So going back to our example with the 4 soak cogs, if we targeted the right middle cog, Zap would firstly do 3 times damage to the targeted cog, next it would move to the right and do 2.5 times damage to the far right cog, and lastly Zap would jump to the middle left cog and do times 2 damage to that cog. Since there were no more cogs to the right, Zap switched directions and targeted the middle left cog. However, if you were to target the middle left cog, Zap would only move to the right, doing 3 times damage to the targeted cog, 2.5 times damage to the middle right cog, and then finally 2 times damage to the right hand side cog. As you can see, Zap may take a while to master, but it's well worth it if you can figure out the strategies that go along with it. You could be doing upwards of 240 damage to one cog, 200 to the next, and almost 160 to the last one, all with one Zap gag. Now we're going to jump into Throw, which is actually pretty boring. It does an extra 10% damage, like if it's organic. That's about it. Congratulations. Also, if you pair this with Prestige Lure, it can do some pretty high damage, so keep that in mind. Yeah, good stuff. Lastly, we're going to hit Drop here. So to finish it all off, the Drop Prestige deals the same amount of damage to its counterpart. However, Drop will be 20% more accurate. This will bring Drop's 50% accuracy up to a solid 70% accuracy. Another thing to note about Drop as a whole is that it has been rebalanced regardless of prestige, just like Trap. Drop's damage numbers have been buffed slightly across the board, and Drop Gags will deal more combo damage the more drops you use together. 2 Drop Gags together will have 30% combo damage, 3 will have 40%, and 4 Drop Gags together will do a 50% combo damage. It's almost like having it lured. This can lead to some staggering damage output if you use it correctly. But that's all the gags, and that's all we have for today, so thank you guys for watching. I hope you learned a little bit of something about training points, gags, and prestiges. Hope this video helps, and you let us know if there's anything else you want to see about any future topics for the guide series. And that is going to be it. I hope to see you in game soon, and this is your pal- Ow. And this is your pal Mega Snoop saying sayonara. You take care, guys. See you in the next video. Stay awesome, God bless, and peace.